Yeah, NFL draft. Welcome aboard. I'm Eric Casillas with CBS Sports draft expert Ryan Wilson. Day 2 in the books. One team still getting a lot of confused looks at their plan. A quarterback in round 2 to a team that has a young franchise quarterback. And about 70 players found new homes on a wild day 2. Let's send it down to Florida. Here's Chris Hassel and the gang to give us the latest.
EK, Ryan Wilson, thank you so much. We won't keep it too long. I know you guys have a lot to say tonight, throughout the night from Connecticut. We want to run through a bunch of different things here quickly with Brady Quinn and Danny Cannell. On day 1, it was the big Jordan Love draft pick by the Green Bay Packers. It was another team in green making a surprising quarterback pick on this day. How about Jalen Hurts to the Eagles in the second round?
It's surprising when you take into consideration every single piece of this, right? When you look at the fact that Carson Wentz is still very young, I thought proved himself last year without much help out around him, in particular a wide receiver, that he's very capable of carrying that team. He's under contract for another 4 years, so it really didn't make a whole lot of sense from that perspective. But if you are looking at potentially Doug Peterson using Jalen Hurts as one of those wildcat options, similar to what the New Orleans Saints like to use Taysom Hill with, maybe it makes some sense. And they're going to need a backup. Carson Wentz has dealt with some issues before, so they have to have someone that can come in and play at a high level for them. So from that perspective, maybe it makes some sense. But bottom line, Danny, they're getting themselves a heck of a competitor. Good locker room guy.
Yeah, outstanding locker room guy, a guy who's made himself a lot of money by transferring from Alabama to go to Oklahoma to showcase what he can do as a passer. But I think this is an effect of the Taysom Hill effect. I think it's the copycat league. The Philadelphia Eagles probably enamored what they saw from Taysom Hill and the way the New Orleans Saints utilized him, thinking, hey, we've got a similar type of athlete, a guy who can run, a guy who can throw, a guy who's, an outstanding competitor, a football player who just finds a way to make plays. And as you mentioned, Brady, I think they have to consider that Carson Wentz has not been able to finish a football season in the past couple years. So they want to have somebody, just in case something happens to Carson Wentz, to add some depth to that position. So I think it's a solid pick for the Eagles. Probably a little bit of a head scratch. Some people said maybe you could have waited a little bit longer. But I think Jalen Hurts was sort of a wild card in this draft. I think if they wouldn't have taken, some other team might have snuck up and taken the same approach with Jalen Hurts.
And Hurts was the only quarterback taken on day 2. The Eagles on day 1, 21st overall, took a wide receiver, Jalen Reagor, out of TCU. And the second round began with 2 wide receivers going. Cincinnati got T. Higgins, and Indianapolis got Michael Pittman.
And I like both selections, really. I think it speaks to what they're trying to do in Cincinnati is build out around Joe Burrow. And you don't know what you're going to get with A.J. Green. He's playing under the franchise tag this year. If things don't work out in the future, T. Higgins steps into that role along with John Ross and Tyler Boyd. So it makes some sense from that perspective. And, again, you're loading up with all sorts of options for Burrow. And then you look at a guy like Michael Pittman. And when they signed Phillip Rivers, you're starting to look at some of the past players he's played with. A guy that makes a lot of sense to me is Vincent Jackson, going back in the day when he was a Charger. That's who Pittman reminds me of, a bigger body guy who's physical, good at high pointing the football and making the contested catch. So I think he fits in well with Phillip Rivers and the Colts.
What's amazing is I think we all thought this could be the best wide receiving class, that we've seen in some time.
Yeah.
And that was only really in the first round. Then you start to see how many wide receivers have been taken in the first 3 rounds. And it's astounding. And I think it speaks to a couple things. Yes, the talent that's coming out is there, but it also speaks to the trend of the NFL, where the league is going. It's pass happy. We're seeing quarterbacks stretch the field vertically. We're seeing teams forget about the run and say, you know what? We want to get chunk plays. We want to get big plays all the time as much as we can. And I think that's the direction. I think that's why there's so many wide receivers taken, and there are some outstanding ones in this draft. It's great for the NFL.
And there's a lot more wide receivers out there to be taken in the final day of the draft that could make a huge mark in the NFL moving forward. Then you have the safety position, and there wasn't a single safety, quote unquote, safety taken on day 1. Isaiah Simmons might be a safety in the National Football League, but we had 5 safeties taken in round 2. A couple of them went back to back.
Yeah, we saw that safety run, and in particular, a guy I really liked, Antoine Winfield Jr. out of Minnesota. Really productive during his time there. The son of, obviously, Antoine Winfield, the cornerback, and really when you look at him on tape, he's probably one of the most instinctive players, and that's really what the Buccaneers are getting in their secondary. And they have to have someone who has a high football IQ because of Todd Bowles' scheme as the defensive coordinator for the Bucs. They put a lot of pressure on their secondary to be able to make up for potentially some mistakes up in the front 7. So Winfield fits that mold for me. I really loved what they did there.
Xavier McKinney going to the New York Giants, another safety that went there. Again, kind of the trend of the NFL. If we're seeing a lot of pass-happy offenses, what are you going to do? And I think you're also seeing some safeties, which, years ago used to be big physical guys that come up, be run stuffers. Now you need ball-hawking, playmakers that can track a ball in the air, that can cover a lot of ground, go sideline to sideline, that can even come up and match up in man-to-man situations, can also blitz the quarterback and put pressure on the quarterback. And I think you saw a lot of those guys taken today, athletic safeties who can do a lot of different things.
The run on running backs began with the final pick in the first round when the Chiefs went with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Then in the second round, you had most of the other guys going. And there was really a top 5 and then a little bit of a drop-off after that. In round 2, we had 4 running backs taken. You take a look, DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers. I know that's Danny's favorite. Brady, who is your favorite running back?
I loved what happened with J.K. Dobbins going to the Baltimore Ravens. I just think it's such a good fit for him. Not only one in that scheme there in Baltimore with a quarterback who can run, who's going to take some of the attention off of you as the running back, but he's got a mentor there in Mark Ingram who's maybe entering one of his last year. Maybe it's his last. We don't know. But a mentor there in front of him that does everything the right way. I think they're similar to in running style as far as what they're both capable of. So it's just a great situation for J.K. Dobbins, what he's entering into.
The one I like, you mentioned Cam Akers. We'll get to him a little bit later. But DeAndre Swift going to the Lions, a little bit of a head scratcher with Kerryon Johnson. But I think he's going to bring an explosive element to that offense. And then really the head scratcher for me was A.J. Dillon. Aaron Rodgers has got to be looking around saying, we're talking about all these explosive playmakers, and then you get a throwback type back who's almost 250 pounds, who's just going to try to bulldoze people. And yes, maybe if you're playing in December in Green Bay, that helps, but there's a whole lot of other football to be played leading up to that point, and he's just sort of a throwback player. So I wonder if Aaron Rodgers still is looking at this draft and just kind of wanting more to work with.
Yeah, I'm guessing that A.J. Dillon is not your favorite pick of day 2.
No.
A lot of people scratching their heads. The Packers still have not gotten that playmaking wide receiver that Aaron Rodgers would like. Who was your favorite pick on this day, Danny?
My guy from Florida State, Cam Akers, going to the Rams. I think it's a perfect fit. I think, you look at what Todd Gurley did a couple years ago when he was healthy, the impact he had on that offense. I think you could see a similar type impact from Cam Akers. The element he brings, he played behind a horrendous offensive line at Florida State, still found a way to make plays. I think Sean McVay is going to find ways to get the ball in his hands with the screen game and, work the play action pass coming out in the backfield. Love the pick. Think it'll be the steal of the running back position.
Ready?
Well, my steal of today's picks is Grant Delpit for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, for starters, it was a need for Cleveland. They needed to address the safety position. But the fact that we're talking about a first-round talent, a guy that 2 years ago, I don't think anyone would have questioned this pick and would have been shocked if he dropped out of the first round. He was playing a little bit banged up. He got, beat a few times in coverage and missed some tackles. So all of a sudden, he started dropping in people's minds. But this is no doubt one of the best overall prospects, really, when you work at his entire body of work. And similar, I think, to Greedy Williams, who maybe as a cover corner a couple years ago in the draft for the Browns, fell to them in the second round. Similar with Grant Delpit here. So I love the pick for the Browns. I think it's going to pay off in the future.
Okay, we're going to continue to hear from many more of our NFL experts throughout this hour here on CBS Sports HQ. But from here, I want to say so long from our Fort Lauderdale studios. Danny Cannell, Brady Quinn did such a great job the first couple days of the NFL draft.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.